Man, thanks for we've been trying to do this for a minute.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
now we back in Maryland on September 11th, 20 years later.
20 years, man.
Yeah, doing
That's
this.
10th grade. 10th grade.
10th
Yeah.
grade, dog. 10th grade.
Uh,
Yeah.
Cause that was a crazy year. Anyway,
Yeah.
cause I think that was fresh off of DC Sniper, wasn't it?
Uh-huh. And the anthrax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, they was checking everybody's mail. Back and forth was just all that insanity. And then, I mean, DC, like, it locked down.
Yeah.
I mean, it was M16s in the airport. Like it wasn't nothing.
Yeah, it was rough living out here. I remember that day though, like 10th grade. It was I was in Miss Ulschuler's class, and she had a TV in that joint, and she put it on. I think at that time my dad was working at the Department of Agriculture,
Yep.
and I don't know if you remember, but all the cell phones went down. You couldn't
Yep.
call nobody, and it ain't like we had cell phones back then anyway.
Right.
But like you could, yeah, you couldn't get a hold of nobody. So it was just the waiting. That was the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
You not knowing, what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember getting home and I think I just went to your house and I was like, was like, what is going on? It's wild out here.
Bro, I think, because I think we, at the end of the street, at the end of Dory Brooks,
Yep.
we was all down there for like a minute. It was a bunch of us out there too. Just like, what in the world's going on? Everybody trying to make calls, futile effort, because there was nothing going through. It was
Right.
nuts.
And next thing we know, it's just like F-14s overhead,
Yeah.
kilos, like everything. Everybody was scrambling because they were offshore doing ops that day, doing training operations, so they were out of range to
Nuts. And weren't armed correctly either.
Nope.
So
Yeah, I remember I was watching that story. I think today it popped up again where like I think the one F-16 that was out in range, no missiles, and they was like, all right, we just gonna hit it. We just gonna hit this plane, and that's
some kamikaze.
Right? It's like, damn.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. That was a wild day. It don't seem like it was 20 years ago, man, but honestly, been Air Force 16 now, and yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a ride. So.
Yeah, so yeah, me and Andre grew up on the same street.
Yeah.
Kind of similar, just situations going up.
Yeah.
Like, single moms.
Yeah.
Even though my mom remarried, it was still pretty much a single mom.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually, after high school, we both joined the military, like, especially like, being these ROTC brats.
Right.
Shout out to Gunny.
Yeah. Shout out wherever he is out there.
Larry. Shout out to Larry.
But man, shout out to the moms, man. You saying single moms, man. They did it, and they made it look effortless. And I know it was hard too, but never felt like it. Like I was poor, never nothing. They made sure we had it. So appreciate that for sure.
It's weird now looking at it as an adult, being like, you raised 2, 3 kids?
Bro, I got one job, and I
ain't gonna be able to do it.
I ain't trying to cut my grass. I ain't trying to do nothing.
You coming home from work,
homework,
stand on the ass.
Nah, man, they was doing it. So
tell me about like your transition, man. Just, like going from like civilian life, trying to go into the military.
Bro, I was messing up. You already know that.
Yeah.
I was the last one out of the crew that ain't go to jail, and I had dead tags for like 8 months. I ain't had no insurance on my car. I was getting pulled over. Like my driving record's 2 pages long, man. Maryland had it out for me, boy. There was a time my headlights went out, and I was riding around with high beams, and I would just get pulled over repeatedly, and I played dumb like, for real? Am I to accident? They was like, yeah, we just pulled you over for this yesterday. Stop playing. But I got my MEPS ID, and they got me out of a lot of it, and they was like, all right, you about to go. But it was my mom, man, because I was a knucklehead, like being out here running the streets and stuff. And she was like, yo, you kicked out. And she eventually let me back in, but She was like, you got a month to get your stuff together. And luckily, I did the ROTC. That's thanks to you, honestly, because I would have never considered doing it.
I was trying to drag you in.
Yeah, man, but I would have never considered it, man. I would have never considered doing it. And that set me up because I already knew I was like, I'm going to recruiting office. So I got the first job smoking. So I was an ammo guy in the military. Just any explosive, C4, small arms, bombs, all the way up, except for nukes. And just went from there, man. It was a wild ride. So going from here to that structure, here I was just wilding out, doing whatever I want, and then basically training a dude up in your face. It was a wild transition, but I made it through that, and then got shipped out to North Carolina for my first one, which is too close to home. So
if I have any say further on in my career, it's like, nah, bro.
Yeah.
Catch a plane. They know I'm close enough to drive.
Yeah.
It was first unit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Still too young and too close to what I was trying to get away from. But I think you was out at like High Point or something at that point when I was in North Carolina, because you came out that time. It's when Drea was born.
Yeah,
so
man.
yeah, she's probably 14 years old, man. It's crazy. I know.
That's nuts.
I know. But yeah, man, did my 2 deployments out of Seymour Johnson, North Carolina, to Afghanistan. The first one, Drea was about to be born, so I tried to get out of it, and they was like, everybody gotta go. And so I was like, dang. So I went, and then 2 months into the deployment, she was born. I was like, all right, well, I'll it's done and over with now. I'll just stay and get my money. And they was like, no, you have to leave. I was like, they were like, it's too many people here. And so I ended up rolling out, and I came back. So got here like two weeks after she was born, and then went right back out on the next rotation the next year. And yeah, Afghanistan was wild. That was a wild time, man.
Tell me about your experience, like, personally.
Man, so first of all, flying into that country, man, you're on a C-17. They're doing a combat landing, so they're like corkscrewing. That's a big plane. They shouldn't be able to move like that. But like, you strapped into the jump seats, right. Got your vest on, your helmet, and they turn on the red lights on the inside, and so like you're just against the wall like this, and you're looking around at everybody else around you, and it's just like, does everybody have the same scared as hell look on their face? And it's like, yep. So you just, I'm hard. I've never been, I'm young, man. I've never been out really. That was like my, couple times of me being on the plane. First time I went on a plane was basic. And so landing there, and then, they give you intelligence reports before you go. And so it's like, yeah, we've been getting rocketed, we've been getting mortared, there's suicide attempts on the base, things like that. And just transitioning through, so you stand in tents first, and then different things. But it was a wild time, because that base used to belong to the Russians, and so it was landmines in 2007. So as far as you could see, they would stack rocks up where the landmines were, but they hadn't found all of them, and so you had to stay on improved surfaces, asphalt, things like that, or you risk getting your leg blown off or worse. So yeah, and then we got mortared quite a bit that time. A couple of suicide bombers got onto the base. Because they had a prison on the base, so they would always be trying to come in and break people out. Right. And so yeah, that was wild. That was crazy, man. Yeah, and they hired the local nationals to clean the bathrooms, prepare food, things like that. So it's wild, but because it's a native Afghan making your meals and stuff, but like you don't know where they are and where they come from. So they caught mad people like working in the chow hall, and then they follow them off base, and they're in like an Al-Qaeda cell or Taliban or whatever, and they was stockpiling weapons and things like that. So
getting intel on like how y'all moving, normalcy of y'all stuff, man. So that's hard, man. I think that's been always the issue. Like I remember I was reading one of the reports from what's his name? Oh, General Flynn, and it was like the Afghan papers and all that stuff that got opened up by the Freedom of Information Act. And one of the interviews he was saying is like, we didn't know it. We didn't have anybody in the military at the time that spoke Pashto, so we're like relying on these interpreters, not knowing whether or not they're gonna be straight up, assuming, oh, yeah, these guys, hooked up. It's like, I think one of the stories he was saying how like they were trying to get a truck, and they were like, oh, how much is this truck? And the interpreter says, oh, it's $20,000. Like, okay, figured out $20,000. And you come to find out, like, the dude was about to sell it for like $2,000.
Yeah.
So like, the cat's pocketing the money.
Oh yeah.
So you got to deal with that, But I think that speaks to just not knowing the nature of the folks you kind of dealing with, like how they do business.
Yeah, and I mean, so the road, there's a perimeter road. The fence around the base at the time was just chain link. And so you could see, like, right on the outside of it, there was farmers with, like, sheep and stuff like that. But everyone over there carries an AK. And so it's a struggle not to stereotype, but still not get killed in the process because you're stupid. And so, we be riding on the bus, and there's 40 of us in there, just right there, nothing but a chain link between us, and there's dudes just walking right on the other side of the fence with AKs. And it's like, man, if they wanted to take us out, that's it. Because we only have room to maneuver our weapons up. Yeah. Let alone we probably shoot everybody in the bus before we even, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, it was wild, man. I know a lot of times, the second time that I went, and the first time, so they have fallen comrade ceremony. So like guys go outside the wire, or if anybody was unfortunate enough to catch one of the mortars that came onto the base, what they would do is they would announce over the loud voice and have everybody convene along the streets of the base. And they would take the casket, flag drape, and like his co-workers or whoever it was, like their immediate unit, and they would ride in the Humvee and they would take them out to the flight line, put them on the jet, send them home, right? It's a metal box, man. It's a metal casket with a flag on it. And man, I've seen so many of those, so many of them, and it just ruins your day. It just, you're done. After that, if you caught one in the morning time, you're not doing nothing for the rest of the day. Like, it just kills your spirit, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think the worst day was Father's Day. I think it was 2009. And that night, right across the street from me, so maybe about a quarter mile, they hit one of the B huts, which is like a plywood building where we lived in, and went through the top, and it killed like 2 or 3 people, I think. But it was on Father's Day. And at the same time, like, you mad, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not going home to my mama in no box. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of people stop wearing their armor, stop wearing their helmets, stop carrying their rifles, stuff like that in different places. People let their guards down, but like, I ain't going out like that. I ain't coming home to mom's like that. Yeah. But it became hard to sleep. So I didn't go to sleep without Tylenol PM most of that time, the whole time I was there. And the crazy thing is I didn't see like action. It was just the uncertainty, right? Like if I had to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, like you're waiting for a mortar to just come in on you. Right. And so it's just like, man, I can't imagine what these cats that go outside the wire feel like. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, man. It's like, you don't necessarily have to be in like direct combat if you already have enough examples of, you could just be in your office taking the shit. And that's it. Yeah. So it's like, and thankfully a lot of people, the majority of Americans don't know what that reality is. They'll never know what that reality is. But also, it sucks because they don't understand like what it's like to like have that uncertainty, like that type of duty. Like I remember just being in the Caribbean and chasing down like go fast.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like, we had to end up having a casualty on the boat. Like it was ended up being a fire, so we had to stop.
Damn.
Put out a fire on the boat. And then the captain, I remember him being like, if anything happens on this vessel, it's us. We're the fire department, we're EMS. There's nobody coming to save us. We're hundreds of miles away from home, and that's it.
Dang. Yeah. Yeah.
One of these go fast decided to get real spooky one night and get up to us in this, USS Cole type situation. And we got a hole in the side of the ship.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody coming to save
you.
it's just gonna be you. And I mean, that's not the same of getting like guaranteed certainty of like, you know, indirect or potential like mortar fire, but man, it's like every branch has its has its
yeah. Everybody has their own perils.
Yeah, man. So, what was it like for you to like come back home? Like,
man, it's such a crazy thing. So like the second deployment when I came back, you know, you missing your kid, you seeing them growing up over primitive Skype at the time. It was a while ago. It wasn't no FaceTime and all that, you know what I mean? So it was Skype. It was like email pictures, like it was old school.
Yep.
And so, you know, seeing them grow up over that, and I had a Afghani prepaid cell phone, like an Afghani track phone. Man, I got so many calls from terrorists in the middle of the night. I wish I spoke Arabic, because I could have probably prevented something, because they would just recycle the numbers.
Right.
But, I mean, the simple things, right? You haven't driven over 35 miles an hour in 6 months. So you get in a car, you go 80, you be like, you know what I mean? And so it's just the small things, like coming back. Of course, now you can drink again, and you know, a lot of guys develop drinking issues. I drank probably more than I should have. Just trying to cope with what you saw and things like that. Yeah, it was wild. Just glad to have made it back, though. You know, there's so many variables in you getting there and getting back. Yeah. You stopping in so many places. You're getting on the most budget aircraft that the government will procure for you. So it's just like, man, you flying over the whole Atlantic right now. You know what I mean?
So
yeah,
airlines.
Yeah.
Have you flying you over in the Spirit Airlines?
Yeah. It was Ryan Air.
Oh yeah, I know. Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, Ryan Air.
Budget flight.
Man, you in there like this.
Yeah. Like, y'all know we American, right? We ain't this little. Like, that's not that's not our size.
But it was cool to come back. It was a good experience in hindsight. Do I ever want to go to Afghanistan again? No, I do not. I had my fill. So
I feel you. I'm not trying to get back underway.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I got my 2 years in. Like, I'm great.
Yeah.
I can avoid that at all costs. It's cool. So you have this military career, and it's gone well, and now you got a family. I mean, what's your experience like, you know, being a military dad?
Man, it's tough, man, because you're always subject to leave at any moment. Like, you know, they try to program it so you can, you know, anticipate where you're gonna go, but you miss a lot. And it's been cool because I don't have to worry about the things that civilian dads have to worry about. Like, my kids get sick, they just go to the doctor. You know, they living with their mom out in Oregon, but all it is, you know, it's TRICARE. Wherever they go, they covered, you know, and dental and all that stuff. So I don't have to worry about those typical things. Oh yeah, I mean, I've never been a civilian dad, so I don't really know the difference.
Yeah, it's been like, I was joking with my buddy the other day. I was like, kind of grew up in the military.
Yeah,
like
I was definitely a kid when I came in.
Yeah, I was still trying to, like, I had a supervisor. I remember one time he was like, "You think you could be Steve Knight and still be in the Coast Guard?" And I'm like, "Yep." And I'm like, I had to think about it for a second. And I'm like, yes and no. Like, I still want to keep who I am, like this artsy kind of cat that likes to do all this other stuff and like a good time. But at the same time, I can cut it off. Like, I can be very analytical and do that. It's just like finding that balance.
Yeah, you become two different people, but you know, a lot of times you start to identify with the uniform.
Yeah.
And I have to be very cautious not to lose myself in the process, right? So, I mean, pretty much everything you do, like, you can't go out in public and show your ass, right? Because no matter what, you're always an ambassador for the military. Yeah. Because if something went down and you were identified as a military member, then that's going to come back on you. It's going to reflect poorly Yeah, it'll be in the news. People love to report bad news on the military.
Yeah.
But, trying to keep yourself so you gotta be two people. And so that's a struggle. And I see a lot of cats, man, that's all they know. They get consumed by the military and they don't even know what they like anymore. They don't, this is me. But I'm like, bruh, you gotta take that off.
Yeah.
And when you take it off, who's gonna be there? Your family. So, like I said, my job now, I carry a government cell phone. I'm at work right now.
Yeah.
But I make it clear to them being leadership, them being co-workers, whatever. I don't check emails on the weekends. I don't check emails after I get home. I don't try to take phone calls. You know what I mean? I try to distance myself from it as much as I can because otherwise you will be consumed by it.
Damn. And that's hard, man. That's been like, I think that's part of the reason why I never fully had a family early in my career. Plus, I just haven't had good luck. Also, that's probably my fault. I'll be out here sometimes.
Man, well, some things never change.
Yeah, right. But it's like carrying a cell phone, out on a date with a young lady. I got two phones with me. I got my personal phone and got the duty phone.
Mm-hmm.
And like a case pop up, like, oh hey Knight, we got this boat on fire. 6 people on board, blah, 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 blah. It's like, all right, well, did y'all get the helo going? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. All right, cool. We go back to eating. It's like, wait, what's happening? Oh, it's a boat on fire, some people on it. So, yeah, I just it's just like, wait, do you need to leave? And I'm like, nah, not yet. It's like, we gonna figure it out. It's like 15 minutes later, get a text, checking it. Okay, cool. And it's like, it's always interjecting. And it's like, I remember I was about to go on vacation with a young lady. I was about to hang on the phone. And I just had to disappear, like, 6 hours before we were supposed to leave, and I got back home finally, and she was like fed up. It had been too many interruptions with it. Like too many nights had been interrupted by this phone.
But do you see though? So going back to what you said though, so like the boat's on fire. There's people on it, right? Do you see what that does to you?
Yeah.
Do you see the long-term effects of you dealing with traumatic experiences like that?
Yeah.
Because it becomes so often, you get desensitized to it, and it's just like, oh yeah, some people are potentially about to die here. Like, this is what we deal with all the time, and I don't think people realize that every little instance like that is taking a bite out of you.
Yeah.
It's taking something from you. You might not feel it immediately, but then, like, you're not charging, you're going down. So, yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yeah. And I think about that. I think about like what you said earlier too. Just like you have to take it off eventually, which is why like I wanted to do something. I remember it was a conversation I was having when I was in LA, when I was stationed out there, and Master Chief E9, 32 years, joined the Coast Guard at 17, retired. He was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna take all these vacations. I'm gonna drive around. All right, and then your term of leave ends, and it's like, all right. Now you're 50, barely, but you joined at 17. Who are you now?
Yeah.
And he was having this conversation with us, and he was like, dude, I was a Walmart greeter for like 8 months. And I'm like, bro, he was
because they lost.
Right? I'm like, he was a boat driver. And I'm like, not to, poo-poo on folks who are
Walmart,
greeters or whatever, but I'm like, you were like an officer in charge of an entire station in charge of, all this other stuff, driving boats all day. Like, you didn't think about what you wanted to do when you grew up?
A lot of people get into that though, because you'll see them staying in 30 plus years, because I think at the bottom of it, they're afraid. Like, there's a section of it that they like to serve their country. It's good pay, things like that. But I think the bottom line is they're afraid, because the military lulls you into this kind of sense of security, right? Everything you got, we're paying for your house, we're paying for your school, we're paying for all these things, and it allows people to sleep on their dreams. So you don't go to school even though that money's on the table. You don't do the things to better yourself you're focused solely on what the military wants you to focus on. And when you get to the end and it comes quick, you don't have nothing. Nothing. You're walking out the door with nothing. And it's around that 17-year mark. They're like, I guess I'll start my associates. And it's like, dude, what you been doing the whole time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
When they start seeing that light, it's like, and then they're staying in for 30.
Right.
Getting there, graduating. And it's fine. But I think that people need to open their eyes a little bit earlier. And I think as military leaders, we need to tell the younger guys the mistakes that we made, right?
Yeah, well,
like, hey, as soon as you are able to start school, if that's what your goal is. But
right. Especially the way it's like all like the TA stuff is set up now. Like you can get program certificates that weren't available before. So if you just like, I used to weld with my dad before I joined the Navy or whatever. So I always want to get back to that. All right, well get your certificates in that. Like it'll pay for it. Like you want to do auto body stuff. You want to do.
Yeah.
You want to own a small business. You like to bake. You want to knit. What you like to do?
Yeah, for real.
Like, bro, it's out there. Just pick something and then actually try it out. If you don't like it, you got time. Like you got disposable income.
True.
So you have the ability to kind of like figure out who you want to be when all this is done. Because man, that is a shot to the system. I remember a couple of years ago when there was like all these flag level officers committing suicide because it was just like, 3 weeks ago I was in command of an entire nuclear craft and now my wife is on my ass taking out the trash.
Yep.
Now you're having this whole crisis.
Nobody calling me general no more.
That's a rough transition.
I can't imagine, man. But I think the sooner you start looking forward to it, like it's 20 years of your life plus maybe, but it's still got to be a stepping stone to something else because military retirement ain't gonna cut it in most areas. So you gotta have something going for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Military's good. The retirement's all right, but you got to be in a state where you can live. You ain't gonna be in San Diego and DC
or here.
Here, like it's getting more and more expensive to live in, the DMV bubble.
Right. Yeah, man.
What do you think you would have done if you hadn't joined the military?
I don't know, man. Like you said before the other day, like I had it so good. I had it down, school and stuff. I've always been an academic-minded person. I was never cool though, right? And I think it was like I was a nerd, dude. Like for like a good amount of while, like I was a nerd. Like I was introverted. Usually stayed at home and things like that. And you might not remember, but prior to like 10th grade, me being like around like 15 and stuff like that, I was up in the house, man. I was watching Discovery Channel and things like that. And it took like one time me going out to a football game, and as soon as I get in the car, they smoking cigarettes. As soon as I get in the car, they smoking weed, whatever. And that one moment, which I was pressured into doing because you need to get out and socialize, that one moment turned the tide of my next 3 years. Because it was cool, right? Yeah, there was girls there, like different things, and it was like, I'm in there now, like, I'm cool. What do I need anything else for? I don't need to do school. I don't need to go to school. So I didn't. And so I can't say what I would have done. I think everything happened exactly as it was supposed to, because I had those experiences very young and kind of got it out of my system. And so, it made my 20s a little bit easier rolling into the 30s. And I think it worked out the way it should have. Yeah. I'd rather have a rough early start and then smooth sailing than lose my mind. Right. So
I think about some of the like senior enlisted and then some of the senior officers. Like I remember, some of them like went to the academy.
Yeah.
Been in the academy since 17, joining the military, and then they they get a divorce or something happens, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I didn't really have a moment to kind of figure my stuff out.
No.
Or like explore.
No.
I think this is a good time in my career to do it.
Right.
You were a whole
wrong. Yeah.
You were a whole 05. Like, what are you doing out there in these bars? It's like, go home. Mm-hmm. Man, take up woodworking or something.
That's Korea.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Especially overseas, man. Overseas gets.
Yeah. That's Korea, man. People go over there and lose their minds.
Yeah.
I love that country though. It's a good time.
Yeah. Guam was kind of like that for me. I had a real good time. I had a great time in Guam. I'll never go anywhere and have a great time again. That was a great time in Guam. Man. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. That's for another day.
Another day, man.
Yeah. How much tape you got in this thing?
Well, just look at his transport something. I was gone.
Yep.
So now that you're back, you're back where it kind of all started, man.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Man, I'm telling you, I draw power from the Bay. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, man.
It's nothing like riding down 260, coming down that hill, and the smell hit you. The sign is there.
Yep.
It's like the salt water is going back into my veins, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Ain't nothing. Really ain't nothing changed out here. Yeah. You see, I moved myself back out into the middle of nowhere. I don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But yeah, back to where. So I think the military, you're gone so much. You come back, your parents have aged years sometimes. Yeah. It was an 8-year gap where I never came back here. Yeah. Years, they age. People grow up. My nieces and nephews are out of college now. Like, it's
college.
Out of college.
Out of.
My nephew, yeah, Shawnee's son is out of college, man. And so coming back is. I feel like I'm still a little bit out of touch, but I can invite my mom over for dinner now. I can ride over there and check on her and things, and it's cool, man. Riding through some of the old spots, going over to the boardwalk, checking things out, and stuff like that.
What's your young cat?
Yeah. I used to run this boardwalk. Boy. You don't know about me. You know what I mean?
Hey man, don't you got a 401k? What's going on here? Well, you got a whole retirement.
Yeah. But shit, I'm still young now. I got that Pharrell jeans.
Yo,
so.
My man is aging like a vampire.
Yeah. Nah, man, it's cool being back. I don't like the laws pertaining to firearms out here. I might find myself back out west, but we'll see. Yeah.
I feel the same, man. It's like I spent most of my career overseas.
Yeah.
Now being back, it's like it was kind of like a pause. Like it almost looked the exact same. Like it's crazy how similar it is versus other places I've been like stationed and living where it's like, all right, this is where I see so much change incrementally the time that I'm there. When I come back here, it's like, oh, okay, they added some new stores, whatever.
Right.
But like the neighborhood looks the same.
Yeah.
Like pretty much the same neighbors.
I've always loved where I was from. I just needed to mature enough to come back. You know what I mean? And 4 more years, I'll retire, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, man.
It's a process, man. But I'm kind of glad that we did end up on this road because it's a blessing to like be able to get into this position.
It is. It really is. And if you look, and it's not to knock anybody, but my standards are higher. If you look at the people that stayed behind, they didn't have those opportunities. Mm-hmm. They had the opportunity to have those opportunities, mm-hmm. but if you didn't take it, then you stayed here. And this is not a place to grow and prosper. This is when you have already prospered, you can live here, because otherwise there's nothing here for you.
If you didn't already have something set up for you, like if your parents didn't already have like a small business that you could just kind of roll into, if there wasn't an opportunity to start a specific business or whatever.
Yeah.
or if you weren't already in like administration or something, you knew you was going to get, you know, promoted through that chain. Like, no.
Nah, it ain't it.
It ain't it, though. It's beautiful, but yeah, the options are slim.
Yeah, so it's cool, man, because a lot of people had counted me out. I had counted myself out for a while. A lot of people had counted me out, man, because I was down bad in the last couple of years before I left. And
man, I remember you and Larry came up to George Mason, and I was like so hyped. I was like telling all my homies, and I was like, I'm gonna invite these girls over. Like, such a like he's such a cool dude. They all showed up. I was like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Yo, where the joints at? I'm like, the girls? I will call the girls. However, why do y'all look like y'all? Like, hold up.
yeah, man, yeah, it was a wild time. And you know, looking back on it, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm glad we're here, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because to be able to, you know, afford the things that I afford and be able to travel and things like that, it's a blessing, man. That change from there, you know, I had that donut on my car. For like 8 months, dog. That donut was on every position of the car. I'm telling you, I need to write a letter to Goodyear, because that joint said don't exceed 55. Boy, I was on the highway like 90, and that joint was like, you know,
hold it on for dear life.
Man. But like, now it's not even a thing. I only have a spare in my car. Mm-hmm. Like, you know.
Man, I got insurance.
Yeah, like, come get me. Like, so it's wild, man. It's wild for sure. Yeah, man.
Dude, just thinking about how far we came and how much further we got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, about to get my butt back into school. Yeah. Took a while off so I could move out here.
Yeah. That's right. You were literally about to be Dr. Dre.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
I got like 7 classes left plus dissertation, and then yeah.
You're getting your doctor's in education, right?
Yeah. So it would be a PhD in organizational leadership, and so I think probably around year 18 or 19, I'm gonna start setting up my consulting business, because that's what I want to do. Like, I'd like to go do a civil service job in the military, the government, whatever. Just because 20 more years and I'll have 2 retirements.
Right.
But I don't want to work for anybody else anymore.
I feel that.
And so what I'm going to do is probably do some freelance stuff, kind of like you are doing with your setup, honing your skills, learning your tools and equipment and stuff like that. So I'm going to do some freelance stuff. Like I'll approach corporations, right? So, you know, with Starbucks, when they write some, you know, racist stuff on a cup or something like that, I can come in and, you know, do an organizational analysis, things like that. And so the Air Force is a big one too. So with my knowledge of the Air Force, I can come back, you know, a DVD, a plan, you know, come do, you know, talk and, you know, mentor some leaders, and then, you know, do it like that. The cool thing about that is it doesn't have to work. It doesn't have to work. You're not around for that,
right?
Yeah. So
like, well,
I'm going with my check.
Right.
You know
your plan didn't work. How did you execute it?
Yeah, right. I can come back,
right, for
a fee.
Like, bro, I didn't tell y'all to do any of this.
Right.
This ain't even about the check. Right. I didn't tell y'all to do anything.
Right. Did you watch the DVD? Yeah. So yeah, man, it's been a ride academically. I wasn't even going to go to school. I wasn't. As a young airman, I was going to be a chief. That was it. I want to be a chief. Yeah. And I had a supervisor that intervened. He's a master sergeant, so E7. He was like, Coop, Hey, he was from Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
Cajun dude. So he always had this big old dip in his lip. He always had change in his pocket. Like, what you got all this change for? But he had this big old dip in his lip, and he would be jangling in his pocket. He'd be like, Coop. And he'd spit. He'd be like, you ain't go to school, Coop. I was like, I ain't trying to hear that, man. And he was like, how about this, Coop? You take a clip every Tuesday, and I'll give you like the day off prior to that. So it ended up with me being like 3-day weekends. And so I went and I clipped. Before you know it, I had associates.
Dang.
And then I stopped for a while because one thing I've always been terrible about is math. And so I held off on that math class for years. And actually, it was a peer that approached me. It was like, you need to get into school. You need to do it. And she came to my desk every day and asked me about that math class. And I did it just to get it off my back. But that completed all my requirements.
Yeah.
And so, after that, it was 2013 when they first started using the word sequestration. And they removed TA. They took it away. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that.
They took it away.
Yeah, man, I remember.
It was only for a couple days because everybody raised hell.
Yeah.
But they took it away. And I was like, yo, this was like one of the guaranteed things of the military.
Right. That's what everybody was like, oh, I'm in the military.
Right.
I'm going to get my education and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then swoop.
It was gone. And from that moment, I was in school for 7 years straight. Because I ain't coming here for free.
Yeah, so better pay attention.
Yeah.
So
I drained my TA every year. Every year I zeroed it out. Nah, I got my master's in 2018. And in the military, if you're not improving yourself, then what are you doing?
Right.
But I'm enlisted. There ain't no point of me having no masters, nothing, like, any of that. I'm not getting paid extra for it.
Keep talking. I'm sorry, change that.
So I was like, I got 7 years left in the military. What am I going to do? I'm going to go get a PhD. So I did it, man.
Dr. Dre for real.
Yeah.
Y'all better ask somebody, man.
Yeah, man.
That's insane.
But it's free money. It's free.
Exactly. It's there for us to use, to utilize, to actually, use it to our advantage.
Yeah.
I don't understand why, like you said, money on the table.
Yeah, I don't leave money on the table.
No.
That don't happen. That don't happen, man.
I don't know if y'all ever heard about Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody, like, it's someone's handing you hundreds of thousands of dollars for an education, and all you have to do is sign up for the classes and complete them. Like, come on, man. Seriously. I mean, it's cool if that's not your goal. That's, it's not for everyone. But certification, like you said,
Yeah. I had a warrant officer, man, in my first unit when I was rated, and this dude, and I'll never forget this, DeCarlo Brown, hood ass dude. He's like, hey, night, man, hey, night, man. Let me ask you something, baby. Like, you know what qualifications are? Like, yeah, qualifications are the things that allow you. Like, no, quals are currency. Quals are currency, baby. And I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know why you yelling at me. You literally, it's just me and you in this office, and you just far from my face. But he was right. Quals are currency.
Yeah.
Like, it's your means to really get the cash. Get not just like cash when you retire, but like literally, like, it opens the door for you. Like, it's the difference between you going to a job and them being like, oh, you're overqualified, or you could be a supervisor, or hey, you're gonna be the boss of this operation. Like, that's the difference. Like, the difference between like, oh, you need to get a master's degree or have a bachelor's for the job versus like, oh, you have enough OJT to actually be a supervisor for the position. Right. Like, that's the difference.
But it takes them cats, man, and that's why I try to be one of the people who help me see the light, right? What the big picture is at the end of it, because I don't think we do a good job as a military of disseminating that information. If you brief someone to death by PowerPoint, it's not getting through to them, especially the 18, 19, 20 years old. They not hearing that, man. They not hearing it. And so, like with the TSP, with your retirement plans, with not spending more than you earn, different things like that, credit, things like that. We don't do a good job of it. And so taking them under your wing, which is one of your charges as an NCO anyway,
right.
It's important. And, you know, you may not ever see that person again, but they're talking about you.
Exactly.
Like, oh man, Steve Knight, man, he hooked me up. He taught me the ropes. He got me square. You know what I mean? So it's imperative that we have to do things like that. Like the new retirement plan.
Yeah.
You know, not well explained at all. It's so convoluted and things like that. And it's like, you don't just do 20 years and retire and you get paid every month anymore. You know what I mean? It's up to you to put that money in, and they're banking on that, right?
Right.
Like, if you don't put no money in, that's less money we got to put in. And they know that 18, 19, 20-year-olds ain't going to do it because they don't have that much disposable income to begin with.
Exactly.
And so, you know, once people do catch on, though, that's going to affect accessions and retention coming in. So,
and for folks who, and I understand, especially like looking at the military, it's kind of more of a business aspect of it.
Yeah.
Especially like Coast Guard, ain't nobody getting out. Barely anybody. People who getting out of officers.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you know, I did this amount of money. I put this amount of money in. I already bought a house.
Yeah.
Like, I got all these qualifications, certifications. Like, now my name's good. I'm gonna get out because I'm never gonna make 04. Like, I got passed over this, so I'm not gonna make 05. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out.
Yeah.
Now you got like this vacuum of knowledge for people who made financial choices that would just be better off for them and their family.
Yeah.
And to be good to go. You know, their husband or wife, their unit is in a certain place where it's like, oh, yeah, they're getting paid like 3 times as much to do their job here than they would anywhere else.
Right.
It's time to go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to be a problem trying to incentivize some folks to stay in.
Yeah.
This market that's evolving right now, because, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Shit. Cool. Thanks, man, for sitting down with me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was fun. And I wanted to sit down and just get this conversation started, because I know we're going to end up doing this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Again soon, man.
We got a whole series.
I know, right? We didn't even touch on some other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, we definitely got time in the near future, man.
Yep.
So, man, thanks again.
For sure.
Appreciate you. You know,
always.
Life, man.
Yeah, always. For sure.
All right. Until next time.
Yeah.
Night show.